Hey guys, so for this YouTube lesson, I'm going to be teaching you guys about what the biological species concept is, and then talk about how interbreeding can happen between species that are distinct from one another. So I'm really just talking about interbreeding between distinct species and what how this relates to the biological species concept. And so what the biological species concept is defined as it defines a species as a group of organisms that are able to interbreed with one another, resulting in fertile offspring. Now, even if an organism decides to breed with an organism that is not technically a part of their species, they would still be able to have offspring. The offspring just would not be fertile. And so, technically, under the biological species concept, they are not defined as the same species because they're not able to create fertile offspring. An example of this would be a mule. A mule, a mule is the result of a horse and a donkey, the offspring of a horse and a donkey. Now, although this mule could have a long, healthy, normal, lifespan, it's not able to have its own offspring because it is the offspring of two technically distinct species, which is the horse and the donkey. Another example would be, well, can a dog and a wolf have offspring? And that answer would be yes, too, because technically they're of two distinct species, but they will still be able to have healthy offspring. The offspring, though, would not be able to have its own offspring, so that offspring would not be fertile. So the example I used before, the mule would not be able to have its own offspring. And the reason why this interbreeding can happen, obviously, if they're of two really distinct species, they would not be able to interbreed. But the only reason why a horse and a donkey are able to interbreed is because they are of similar, they two distinct species, but they are derived from one another. So, just like the wolf and the dog. So the dog derived from the wolf. That's why they're able to interbreed one another and create offspring. The offspring, once again, will not be fertile. So although these two species are technically distinct, a dog and a wolf are not of the same species. Though the dog derived from the wolf, that is why they are able to create offspring. So the horse and the donkey, they derive from one another, and that's why they're able to create a healthy offspring, which is a mule. So, according to the biological species concept, a dog and a wolf technically would not be considered the same species, which they're not, but they are able to create fertile offspring. And so if you have two species that, although they're different species, if they derive from one another, then they will have offspring. The concept is just the offspring will not be fertile. And so the offspring will always be healthy, and yes, the offspring will live a long, healthy life. It's the offspring will not be able to have its own children. And another concept that I also want to share is this paleo species concept. This concept is defined as fossil organisms that are considered to be of the same species. So if we take the wolf and the dog, if we had a fossil of a wolf and a dog, well, would we classify them as the same species? Because, like I said earlier, the dog did derive from the wolf, and we have the fossil. But this answer would be no, because the dog and the wolf are two different species, and what makes them different species is that they are not the same. And so you'll notice with the fossil of a dog and the wolf, there's some differences and there's some similarities, but the differences outweigh the similarities, which is why they're considered two distinct species. And so that's all I have for today. I hope I was able to explain the biological species concept kind of to you. Interbreeding between different species, they have to be derived from one another, and then the paleo species is fossil remains, and so will be classified dog and a wolf as a same species according to the paleo species. We would not, because you can see the differences in both. So thank you.